Golfcast, presented by Bones Brothers Media.
What up, golf fans? It is a Wednesday afternoon in the University City, and it is showtime. Welcome into the program. My name is Edge, joined as always with the namesake of the Bones DK Golfcast. Bones DK, how you doing today? Coming to us from Pittsburgh, is that right?
Yeah, I'm in Pittsburgh and feeling good. Edge, took a few days off. The Honda Classic, it was a good tournament. I just wasn't happy having 5 of 6 in all 5 of my lineups. It was just mentally draining. So, I'm back, I'm rested, and I'm feeling good.
Deflating it was when you get a 5 out of 6. We talk about that all the time on the Bones DK Golfcast. Georgia Bulldog back in the winner's circle, though, TW man. Sepp Straka. It was, first 3 days not very exciting, but that fourth day, that Sunday afternoon, turned out pretty good when Daniel Berger choked it away. The rain came on. You had Lowry making some incredible comments after the round about how he should have won it had the rain not come. So welcome into the program, Wild Man from Tampa. What'd you think of last weekend?
Yeah, you pretty much hit it, man. You kind of knew going into that Sunday that it was going to be electrifying, just given how difficult the course was playing. Obviously Berger makes that early double and sort of all bets were off at that point. Bizarre from Lowry. He hasn't won since the 2016 Open Championship over in his hometown of Ireland, home country of Ireland, pardon me. So, weird for him to say for a guy that hasn't won in 5 years worldwide. But stoked for this weekend. It's just about a hop, skip, and a jump away from my front door there in Southwest Orlando. So looking forward to it here at the API.
Yeah, the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Some great course history here, of course, with Arnold Palmer being the host, no longer with us, but it's become a stop, a mainstay here on the PGA Tour. Bay Hill, like you said, it's in Orlando, Florida, Wild Man. One really unique thing about this tournament, they've always invested largely the PGA Tour in the API because I think of Arnold Palmer. You've got sponsors that are, had signed up for 10-year contracts, I think. This exemption is a 3-year exemption, in fact, so you can get some of the biggest names to come back year in and year out. The purse this year at the Arnold Palmer Invitational is bigger than the purse of 452 of the 458 major championships ever played. So tell us a little bit about the course, but, talk a little bit about, if you want, the history of this thing also and what it means to Florida, what it means to the Orlando area and Florida itself.
It's a meal ticket, that's for sure. It's 1.67 mil up top. That's big time. This is a pretty short field as well. There's only 120 and change golfers with a couple of withdrawals coming out already, including Jason Day. But it's a course that sets up like a major, just like any of Arnold Palmer's stuff, any of Jack Nicklaus's stuff. They really take pride in doing that. So you're going to see really long, penalizing rough, a lot of water, a lot of bunkers, a lot of long iron shots. Overall, pretty long course. Short field and without Tiger Woods, who won this event 8 times in a 13-year stretch, by the way. Expect to see some fireworks, but also it's an event where the cream tends to rise to the top, maybe excluding Matt Every in the last, 20 or 25 years. You've seen guys like Rory, like Bryson, like Jason Day, Francesco Molinari. Those are all major winners who have also won here. So big-time long iron course, though.
Money doesn't always matter to these guys. You saw 20 or 30 guys entertaining the Saudi event, so I don't want to say that it doesn't matter to everybody, but it doesn't matter all that much. I do think this is one of those tournaments, Bones DK, where the championship, raising that trophy at the Arnold Palmer, there's a lot of esteem that comes with that, and to honor the greatest champion perhaps ever in golf's history, Arnold Palmer, that's maybe why you see some of the cream rise to the top. Wildman just said that you have to have long irons here, and I know you love iron play. So before we get into the tiers and go through it all, who is the best iron player coming into this weekend, do you think?
We'll get into it with the guys, but yeah, like you said, it's the Arnold Palmer event. It's like the Genesis, right? People just want to win the Tiger Woods hosted event. So yeah, big names coming here. It's going to be a great tournament. Going to be another difficult tournament. A lot of bogeys out there, not as many birdies. So you're going to want some bogey avoidance guys for sure.
We've got 5 guys in the 5-digit tier on DraftKings. Of course, John Rahm, whenever he plays, usually leads us off at the top. He's 11,400. Rory McIlroy. I just love the way this guy is presenting himself in the press these days. It seems like I hang on his every word when he talks, quite frankly. Not just because I love the way he sounds with his accent, but boy, he's got a lot of substance to what he says. He's at 11,100. I'd love to see him win this week. Can't wait to hear your analysis on that guy. Victor Hovland at 10-8. Scotty Scheffler at 10-6. Hideki Matsuyama at 10-3. Bones DK, who do you like in this top tier?
Strong tier here, obviously. I know Wildman is a big Rory McIlroy guy, so I'll let him have a take on him. I'm probably going to go back to my boy Scotty Scheffler, to be honest with you. There's just nothing telling me not to play him. His only appearance here, he has a 15th. So, I just like what I see out of Scotty. After his win, he followed up with a 7th place. And you go back to his last couple tournaments, nothing worse than a 25th, in his last couple. So I know I'm a homer on Scotty Scheffler, but there's a reason why I'm a homer on Scotty Scheffler, because I knew he was a good golfer, and he's finally showing up. And you can see what I'm talking about here, a second at the Hero, 25th, 20th, 1st, 7th, with a 15th in his only appearance. I know it's getting up there in price with Scotty, but I think he's going to be overlooked with these other guys like John Rahm, Rory, and Sung Jae right below him in the 9K range. So in this range, Scotty Scheffler is still my favorite play.
I'll tell you what, that model you just threw up right there, Bones DK, also, you had a lot of eagles sprinkled in those great finishes that Scotty Scheffler had also. At least every other tournament, he's making an eagle, if not 2. So, Wildman, do you want to piggyback what Bones DK is saying on Scotty, or are you with me, or are you with Rory this week?
Well, I support Scheffler as well. I mean, geez, man, look at those stats and look at those finishes. And particularly, coming into this year, he was posting those really good finishes at the toughest courses like the U.S. Open and events like that. So, I'd look for Scheffler there, maybe in a sneaky spot. He doesn't really quite feel like he fits there with Rahm and Rory yet, but an interesting play nonetheless. Rory, though, I mean, come on, guys. Look, what's the knock on Rory lately? It's that mentally he hasn't really been there, right? And for any other golfer, including John Rahm, I would even say, you would consider this some of the best golf you've seen. I mean, he gains everywhere. He went into the Quail Hollow last year as a guy that everybody was sort of writing off because he just had the kid and he made some comments about his family mattering more than anything. What's he do? He goes out and wins. That leads into the Ryder Cup. Is Rory going to care? Is Rory really, invested in golf? Shows up at the Ryder Cup and gives it everything he has. Edge, you made the point about what this event means, the Arnold Palmer. And although Arnold has passed away, this tournament has legacy. This tournament feels like a major. And I don't care how rich you are, playing for $1.6 million matters. So it's a ball striker's paradise. Rory is the ball striking genius, right? He's a wizard, tee to green, which is why you've seen every single finish since 2015, 16 inside the top 10, with 10th being his worst. So expect the same from Rory. And I would say this too, and then I'll let you guys go here. I don't think anybody can argue with me that Rory's best is a couple of strokes better than anybody's best outside of like 2000 Tiger Woods.
Yeah, I mean, that's a strong analysis. Everything, all the points you just made there about Rory McIlroy, strong analysis. And yeah, I like his demeanor right now. I like his disposition. I like how he's not, wound tight right now. This is the kind of mood I feel like you need to be in if you're going to win a big tournament like this. The $9,000 tier is really interesting for a couple reasons. It's smaller than most of the $9,000 tiers that we see. And then there's a big drop in price after the first guy at 99. Sung Jae M leads us off at 99. Then we'll drop down $500 and hit Big Z at 94. Hatton at 93, Fitzpatrick at 92, Leishman at 91, and then Adam Scott at 9 even. What's with the big price drop here, Bones DK? Who do you like in the $9,000 range?
Yeah, that is a little weird to see that. That is a nice discount on Zalatoris there. I totally agree with Wildman and Rory. I think he's a great play if you decide to buy up on him, play him over Rahm and Hovland. I love Scotty still. And then you have an M here at 9,900. I know he has really good history. We'll pop over to here with 2/3 and a 21st. There's just something scaring me about Sung J M. I don't know. He might come out here and win, but I love these discounts on Big Z. 10th place in his only appearance here. And I think you're going to see a lot of people actually starting their lineups here. And that's why he's getting so much ownership. I know a lot of people want to play him, and I don't really disagree. You can pop over to his stats as well. I mean, he is just there overall. I love Zalatoris. Look at his approach stats here. I mean, he just doesn't lose on approach. Off the tee, he lost a little bit at Genesis, but a lot of people did, so that's not that crazy. I expect him to do big things in this range. I don't think it's crazy to start your lineup with Zalatoris this week either. One of my favorite, I mean, man, this is a really, really strong range, and you'll probably see me starting most of my lineups in this range, to be honest with you. Mark Leishman has a first, a second, and a seventh here in really, really, really good form if you look at his finishes. And then I think a sneaky play here is Terrell Hatton. I just don't hear that many people talking about him, and he has really good history here. He's won, and I didn't want to go to DraftKings here, but if you didn't want to go to Fantasy National, but if you go to DraftKings, it shows his European events in January, a 6th and a 4th, 20 birdies, 16 birdies and an eagle. I was surprised to see that his ownership was lower. I thought he was going to be chalk, actually, and seeing that 9,300 Terrell Hatton is going to be one of the lowest owned guys in the whole entire top range, that makes me like him a lot.
What can you add to the $9,000 tier, Wildman?
Well, I'll tell you something strange about Sung Jae. He missed the cut last week, and he was second in the field in strokes gained off the tee through 36 holes. So clearly something wasn't working there for him. But it's interesting because, you feel like that short game or that putting stroke can be altered quite a bit pretty quickly. And so maybe if he can get off the tee here, he can produce another one of those good finishes. But I kind of share the concern with him that just something's not clicking for him. Terrell Hatton, guys, 5 of the last 6 winners of this event have been internationals, excluding just Bryson last year. And by the way, our favorite runner-up, Lee Westwood, finished second last year. So he was an international. But there just seems to be something about this course in international play. Winds can kick up to like 10, 12 knots. So 12 to 15 miles per hour pretty quickly here, where you need that low ball flight. You need that kind of link style play to keep it in the fairway. Maybe why you see guys like Leishman and Hatton and Fitzpatrick with this impeccable course history. So certainly guys I'd look at, man. I think Hatton, he wasn't really on my radar, but
I've been talking about him a lot.
Really good history here too. I mean, and he's playing really well. Adam Scott also, he's always a guy that I like at courses where I like McIlroy. For something that I say all the time, it feels like that those two guys have really the golf swings that you try to emulate as a kid, as an amateur, as a competitive golfer. So I would say this tier is it's very, very stiff here, from like Zalatoris down to Adam Scott.
So if I was thinking about building a Rory McIlroy, Mark Leishman build, Bones, I'd be averaging about, right around 98, I think, for that. I'm going to need somebody in this $8,000 tier, and it's loaded also. 89, we have Billy Horschel. Sam Burns at 88. Max Homa, our boy, at 87. Gooch back on the board here at 86. Henley at 85. Kokrak, who if he never played another PGA Tour event, I wouldn't miss him one bit. Kokrak, 84. Casey, 83. Garcia, 81. Keith Mitchell, 81. Tringali, 8,000. So what we lacked in the $9,000 tier, we're making up for in perhaps a rather saturated, swollen $8,000 tier. Who we liking in this $8,000 tier, Bones? Again, keep in mind, I like that Rory Leishman build. You're going to need somebody in here to even out those salaries.
Yeah, well, you'll need somebody in that lower 8K range. You're going to have about 7,400 left for 4 guys if you do those 2 guys in a lineup. I don't mind it at all. Obviously Max Homa, I called him a California guy, but all of a sudden 24th and 10th at this course, and he's really driving the ball really well. I think I have him up here. It doesn't look like it, but anyways, really good golfer. We love the guy. Another guy we love is Taylor Gooch, right? Love rooting for him. I know he has decent history here, but his driver is a little bit of an issue for me. He does tend to spray it, and he's not really dialed in with his irons and driver together. I just see a little bit of failure there. I think he's really, really overpriced, to be honest with you. I think he should be about 7,800 where he typically is. Russell Henley, another guy I like. Jason Kokrak, 8th, 18th, and 10th in his last three appearances here. And yes, he's playing really well. I could see him being a great play. Paul Casey, a 10th place in his only appearance here. I really like this lower 8K range the most. Max Homa is my top play in that top 8K range. And then you come down here, Paul Casey, I know Stevie likes, Wildman likes. Sergio Garcia, a big guy that Wildman wants to talk about. And Keith Mitchell. I mean, Keith Mitchell, I'm going to keep playing this guy. Look at his off the tee stats here. I mean, seriously, look at these off the tees. If you're watching the YouTube video here, a 5th and a 6th place here at this course. Also with a 3rd, a 7th, and a 9th in his last couple events. In fact, last time I touted Keith Mitchell this hard is when he came in 120th place at the Farmers and he missed the cut. I'm not kidding. I was all over Keith Mitchell that week, and he totally let me down. Follows up with a 12th, 10th, and 9th. So I know a lot of people are going to be playing Keith Mitchell. I think the biggest combo you're going to see is Zalatoris and Mitchell in most lineups. That's something to note. I'm seeing it everywhere. I love him. I absolutely love Keith Mitchell this week.
The only reason I said what I said about Kokrak earlier is he tried to get in bed with the Saudis. And when he talked about trying to get in bed with the Saudis, he very specifically said, I want to make a ton of money. So he is playing well. And if the money does matter to him, we got 1.65 on the table here, Wildman. Is Kokrak a great play this week? Not just a good play, a great play.
I don't like him this week. In fact, I do like Homa here in this 8K range, but really from like Adam Scott down to Mitchell, or let's say down to Casey, there's not a whole lot that jumps off the page for me. Kokrak to me is his complete game just hasn't been there. But he's a good tee to green player. If he's clicking, he can make it happen, and he's got some good finishes here. But for me, I think I pass on Kokrak. I just don't think he'll do enough for you at that price tag. Keith Mitchell, though, is number one in my model. And, we told you that there was going to be a large amount of approach shots and par 3 iron shots over 200 yards. He ranks out in the top 3 in that as far as my metrics are concerned. And the reason that matters is because the guy ranks 2nd in the model. And keep in mind, I make it without doing any statistical analysis on individual players. It's based purely on what I think will matter at the course. The guy that ranks 2nd in the model is the 2011 champ here. So I'll get to him in a second because he's lower than 8,100. But that should show you that this model means something and is maybe clicking here. But Keith Mitchell, number one in the model.
Do you have something good to say about our boy, one of my favorites, Sergio Garcia?
Yeah, man. I was looking at he hasn't played here in the last several years. But look at his bogey avoidance. That's particularly what I was looking at in his last couple of finishes. And that's something you're going to need here. Can he win an event anymore that's like 17, 18 under? I just don't know if he's got the guts and got the putter, but his ball striking is still there. It's as good as it was when he was 20 years old. And, we're looking a little bit ahead here to the Players next week where he's got like more top 10s than you would even believe he's played at the Players, a course that we're sort of tying into this one. So, he's probably not going to be owned. And man, if he can get it there tee to green and just do enough to make the cut, could certainly do some damage.
$7,000. It could be a great pivot. You're exactly right. $7,000 range. We usually don't go through all of these names because it's such an inflated tier, but we do have Fleetwood at 79. We have McNeely at 78, who we put a little bit of money on this year. Gary Woodland, we talked about last week. He ended up making the cut, finishing, I think, in the top 5, maybe the top 10. Rosie at 77, Bazudenhout 77, who's been getting a lot of play. Seamus Power at 76. Kirk, just on the guys I follow on social media, Kirk seems to be getting a lot of play, so he could be highly owned. Patrick Reed at 7,400. Wolf at 7,400. Straka, last week's champion at 73. That Florida, if you can win at the Honda, buddy, you can win at Bay Hill, Bones DK. Who do you like in this $7,000 tier?
Yeah, I agree with like playing guys that are just playing well in Florida, right? Just it's not like they're gonna win or have a top 3 and just totally disappear. So going right back to them, yeah, I can see it. One of my favorite plays in this range is Bez. Our boy Bez has really good history here. I like what I see in his overall game. Coming off a 25th at the Honda, missed the cut of the Genesis, but had a good finish at the AT&T Pro-Am, Pebble Beach. So I do like Bez. You can see he has pretty good bogey avoidance as well. Nothing over 10 in a while. Only had 2 bogeys at Pebble Beach. So he's someone I'm looking at right now. And then another guy that everyone knows who this guy is all of a sudden, number 51 in the world, Cameron Young. Let's go down to his stats. Bang. What not to like around, with Cameron Young is around the green, right? So that is something that I'm looking into this week. He's amazing off the tee. His approach is there. If you're not missing the green, then you don't need a good around the green, right? So if he's hitting the greens, he's okay. But if he misses the greens and he's having a tough week, it might be a bad week for Cameron Young. So there's just something to look at. Is his around the green is horrible, kind of like a Victor Hovland, but Victor Hovland is number 4 in the world. So, not too much concern there. Hovland doesn't have great history here either. Another guy I just wanted to mention real quick, we talked about him before, Jason Kokrak. B. Covey loves Jason Kokrak this week. I don't, but B. Covey also won 55 grand at this tournament last year. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Covey there. I forgot about that. 55 grand winner. So he is texting me every 10 minutes, who you liking this week?
Yeah, that was a memorable event for the Bones DK golf family when Covey took it down. Another memorable event at this tournament was DeChambeau crushing it over the water, if you remember, last year, Wildman. But getting back to what we were just talking about a moment ago with Florida, I mean, you live down there in Florida, Wildman, and we've played golf in Tampa. We played golf in Orlando. Florida golf is, obviously the courses aren't the same, but the idea is the same. There's water everywhere, and you can give a lot of shots back quickly. Why is Straka, you think, at 7,300? Is it because he's a Georgia Bulldog and he was out partying all this week?
No, I don't think so. He's been like 6,100, as recent as like a month or 2 ago. So I think it's just probably some recency bias that hasn't lifted him that high quite yet. Look, he's got results all over the board, right? With top 10, top 15s, wins, missed cuts. Pick your poison with Straka. He made like a 50, 60 footer there on 18, I think, for par that ended up winning him the tournament. So that putt doesn't go. Perhaps have a different result there. But in the 7K range, I'm looking at Maverick McNeely like a guy that is a lot better than the price tag and is just sort of waiting for that Sunday final pairing where he can showcase himself on live TV. Although we've seen him late in tournaments and he's kind of wilted, a guy that, sub 8K can still pay off for you, even if he doesn't get the win. Corey Connors is an interesting play too. He's got a good finish at last year's Players, good finish here last year. But his form has been really, really poor. Sneaky little play in a larger contest. I don't like him this week, but obviously he's talented enough to get somewhere for you. Wolf pass, Reed pass, Keegan pass.
I don't think Keegan's too bad of a play this week, to be honest with you. I could see Keegan Bradley doing well here.
He's just on that putter and good luck,
That is the problem with Keegan Bradley, that putter. I mean, does he still do it where he goes down to the green, like holding it up and like stare at it? Because he needs to go back to it if he's not, because his putting is just horrible.
I mean, you're talking about when he won the PGA 11 years ago. I mean, he's been sort of an afterthought since then.
Here are his stats right here. Look at his approach. I mean, he's good off the tee, good on approach. Look at those putting numbers. All red. Cannot make a putt.
If he could find the putter somehow.
Yeah, that's all. I can see it.
But I'll tell you what, like, he's a guy that, like, even being within 8 feet, I don't like him. Like, I'd rather have him, like, putting from 17 feet than 8 feet.
I don't like anyone within 5 feet anymore. I don't know what happened to golf. I mean, these guys have 6 5-footers, and they're missing them. I mean, I'm losing hundreds on these guys, thousands.
Hey, two other guys I want to mention real quick. One of them was the aforementioned number 2 in my model, who's the 2011 champ here, and is playing really well. His name's Martin Laird. He's 7K. He's a Scotsman. He's an international. He's a former champion. He's coming off some pretty good form.
7K is getting into the Wildman Flyer of the Week territory, which has not succeeded very much, but we'll keep listening.
It was Lee Hodges last week.
I was going to say, this is the week where you touted. He came in, 7th place? Lee Hodges, 60-something hundred, 6,300?
Hodges had enough 10-footers on Sunday to lift that trophy, guys. If you go back and look at his shot length, my gosh, 10 feet, 9 feet, 7 feet, 10 feet, 11 feet. Missed them all. And then he putted out of the bunker on 6-15.
What was that?
Putted out of the bunker over the green into
the muck.
I mean, I would do that, right? You know, because I suck so bad out of
I mean, who on God's green earth put that thought in his head?
PGA Tour contention, putts out of the bunker, over the green, and into the muck. And I think I heard his caddy, you could just see his lips move, and he goes, "He was the flyer of the week."
All right. Laird was your first guy at 7K. We cut you off a moment ago. Who's your second guy that you like at that 7K range?
Second guy, Sebastian Munoz. I can't say that I back him in a high buy-in single entry contest, but certainly in some of these bigger GPPs where you're getting a little more risky, I think he's a good play at 7K. He ranks out as the number 2 player in proximity over 200 yards for me in my model, which is our number 1 stat of the week. So, guy that can fill up birdies, you just hope that he can get off the tee and get tee to green and get a little streaky. But Munoz is a guy I can support if you're trying to find a low ownership spot there.
Bones DK, anybody that we missed in this field that you want to talk about?
I don't think there's anyone we missed. I don't know if I mentioned Chris Kirk. I really like him a lot. I think a lot of people do, though. I'm going to mention one guy, and he is a super flyer, right? Not to take away the flyer of the week. I think it's a great pick. But this is someone I really possibly want to play. 7th place in his last appearance here. Not since 2018. But just, you can get a lot of good players in if you get a 6,200 player, Sean O'Hare. A 6th place at the Korn Ferry Tour in February, a 16th at the AT&T Pro-Am, and then a 22nd at the Bermuda Championship. Only 9 bogeys. Seems to be a bogey avoidance type of guy. So I'm going to take a flyer and say Sean O'Hare on the podcast even out here. 6,200. I think I might even play him in the big contest, but I don't want to give out my big contest lineup yet. I am playing the 555 this week, so it's going to be a big week. I'm going all in.
We'll see what happens, and we'll get the cheat sheet coming up here shortly. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Wildman, before we sign off, right before we came on the air, maybe about an hour beforehand, Tiger Woods was awarded the PIP Award to the PGA, edging out his whipping boy, Phil Mickelson, again. Has there been and I mean, Phil's doing the right thing right now, staying away, keeping quiet, keeping his nose out of the camera and his mouth away from the microphone. But has there been a faster 180 from a guy? Phil Mickelson was everybody's he was really earning a lot of points with people. He was loose. He was free after he won the PGA Championship. He was becoming a social media darling. And then, I mean, man, did that backfire on him? And has there ever been a faster 180?
I mean, epic collapse from Phil. He was doing those fireside he became a comedian on social media.
He did. That's what I mean.
Darling. He's got the match there where he's mic'd up the whole time with Brady and Peyton. And, it was really a sweetheart. But boy, I don't know, a collapse that quickly. Perhaps when Tiger's wife, Elin Nordegren, hit him over the head with a sandwich.
That was a pretty quick collapse. That was.
Lance Armstrong as well is up there, if you ask me.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, it took Armstrong at least a couple years of scandal before he was found that he was a doper, right? Mickelson, this all happened over the course of a weekend at a golf tournament. He went
Well,
from being like, one of the greatest golfers legacy in the history of the game to really, I don't know how he necessarily, I mean, he's going to come back. I'm not that naive, but all his sponsors have dropped him. And I think it is hard for some people to be like, dude, like this guy's just a jerk is what he is. Like,
He is. I
he's
mean,
a fake. He's a fraud. He showed us his ass. It's going to be hard to so his legacy is going to be asterisked or tarnished by that forever, in my opinion, Wildman.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have to say this, like when we've seen stuff like this happen with whether it be like an NFL player or another pro athlete that gets into some sort of criminal trouble, right?
True.
Whether domestically or gun charges
Exactly
or
right.
charges or something like that, like it happens pretty quickly. There has to be more to this story than Mickelson just like posting a not so colorful tweet, right? Like there has to be more, like you said, where they've already been witch hunting him because he's a bad character guy. I mentioned last week he had insider trading issues.
Sure.
He's got the ties to Billy Walters out in Vegas.
Here's what never made sense to me from the beginning either. I know that he was a 50-year-old champion on the PGA Tour, but he's still 51 years old, dude. Like, he's a senior. He can play on the Champions Tour, for crying out loud. His career is if it's not over, it is certainly in its twilight. Why would any of these younger guys follow him? Why would any of them put their careers on the line to follow this whipping boy on his way out the door?
Well, I think his fan base is all older people. I mean, there's a new wave coming through, so I don't think he's going to lose like that many new followers, if you ask me.
Doesn't matter if you're my age. Doesn't matter if you're Phil's age. Doesn't matter if you're your age, Bones DK, or the kids that are in high school right now, or the youngsters. It's all about Tiger Woods, and it's always been about Tiger Woods. And the moment Tiger Woods pledged his allegiance to the PGA Tour, it was a losing effort for anyone who tried to get on board with Greg Norman and Phil Mickelson. And they were too egocentric to realize that. That's my take.
I'll tell you this. If you're not a Phil guy, go look up the Arnold Palmer Invitational. I believe it was 02. Tiger had like 22 feet to beat Mickelson. They got Mickelson and Amy Mickelson there, arm around her, live coverage of him watching Tiger drain it and Tiger fist bumping. And I mean, it is painful to watch Mickelson's awkwardness,
Yeah. It's always, it's for a guy, again, with his ego, it has to have been tough.
Yeah, I mean,
to be the second best your whole career.
Yeah,
that's it, period. Right? I mean, that's just the truth.
There's some of these guys like Aaron Rodgers I would put in this category too, where it's like, is it not enough that you're one of the all-time greats in a sport and you make $50+ million, $100 million a year? Like Mickelson went and remember he like tried out with the Padres one year. He was like throwing.
He was a cool dude. He was a cool dude until about 10 days ago, man. That's the truth.
And like, just put a cork in it, bro.
Well, there's also a camera on him at all times,
He's got to be approaching billionaire status. But again, we could go on and talk about this probably for another hour. Let's get back to the API here. Any final thoughts, Bones DK, before we sign off?
No, let's win some money this week. I mean, I like the guys I mentioned, and I like the guys that I want to fade.
Speaking of showing his ass, Bones DK showed it to us just there a second ago. 555 he's getting into this week, Wild Man. So do you wish him luck, or how do you feel about that?
He also showed it from the bowling alley there in Wheeling, where he tore his shirt off on a bet. Believe me, he had not had any adult beverages leading up to that point.
Zero. Those 65 cans of Busch Light there were just drank by their wives. That's it.
Look at Kenny Chesney concert.
The story behind the Busch Lights is our teammate works at the distribution area where they, have Busch Lights, so we drink Busch Lights only. Yes, there was actually probably 12 unaccounted for in the video, and I lost a bet. If the worst player on our team, if he turkeyed the last 3 frames, the last 3 shots, I had to take my shirt off and wave it around. He turkeyed, of course.
Yeah,
so I had to take my shirt off and wave it around.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history.
Hey, one of my buddies works in the building next to the Busch Light distributor, so we drink 100 of them every Wednesday.
You'd have to pay me a $20 bill to drink a Busch Light,
It's not
and I'm no
bad.
beer
It's
snob.
not bad. What do you drink?
But you'd
Bud
have
Light?
to pay me a $20 bill so I could drink that beer, muscle through it, walk right out down to the sheets, and buy a 12-pack of Bud Light and come back and join you.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the only way that would work.
From the guy that sucks down Bud Light and Natter Day every day of his life, right?
Natter Day, Leinenkugel, Yingling. That's all I drink, boys. You guys know this.
I could use a line of Google right now. I do have
Bud
one
Light.
last thought.
Bud Light.
Okay? I want to take it back to the quotes, right? Don't quit, don't even quit. Emmett Smith quoting Jim Valvano. The flyer of the week was Lee Hodges. Let me give you one more. Don't quit, don't even quit. Dylan Fratelli, top 25 at the Players, PGA Tour winner, Euro Tour winner, Asian Tour winner, coming off top fives at the Masters and the Open Championship in the last couple of years, playing in good form, eagled the 72nd hole last week at the Honda for a good finish. I love Dylan Fratelli this week. Don't quit, don't even quit.
Don't quit, don't even quit. It is the Arnold Palmer Invitational coming up this week. Bay Hill, and great field that we have here, and it should be a fantastic event. Great television also. They always honor his legacy in a fantastic way, this week's event. We're interested to see how it goes with Bones DK and his 555. We hope it goes real well for you guys. For Bones DK, for TW Man, my name is Edge. Follow me at Golf Guy WV. Thanks so much for listening. Good luck this week at the Arnold Palmer Invitational.
Thanks, Edge.